Hello and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Madden and I'm an artist here on YouTube. And today we are going to be finishing Sketchbook 16. Now I totally missed out on Mermaid because I was still trying to figure out how to do anything again after preparing for my art show. So I want to make up for that because I love Mermaid. It's probably my favorite art challenge theme, but I've never actually participated in a full month of it. So for today we're just going to finish off this sketchbook with some mermen so that I can kind of get my fix for that, as well as I wanted to finish this sketchbook last month anyway, so we can pretend that it's still May. Also, happy Pride. But let's just get into it. Alright, so this is Sketchbook 16, and we are very, very close to being done. We've just got these two, and this last one to do. Although I might skip it, but I usually like to use this page even if it's got swatches on it. Although I should probably start swatching on a different page since I like to use the very last page so much. Anyway, you should grab some water. I totally forgot mine. If you didn't see my video from last year's Mermaid, I did one all about the lore of my mermen and how they work, because I've got a little world building or whatever done for them, and that will kind of explain some of the design choices I make here that might seem a little unusual, although not really. They aren't that imaginative. Honestly, I kind of wish I was doing this in Color Race, but I don't really want to switch in the middle. Oh, he can't do that. We'll change it. So the reference image I'm looking at, I didn't really think about how he's got his hand kind of resting behind one leg, between them. But obviously a merman can't do that, so I'll bring it forward a little bit. Alright, I do feel like I'm drawing him way too high up on the page. But we're just gonna make it work. We're kind of following what his legs are doing, but also kind of not. So we're just gonna leave it kind of a blob. I'll figure out what the hell is going on later. I'm not a tidy sketcher at all. I'm an actual mess. So I sketch in something, and then I sketch over it, and then I erase it completely, and it just gets it gets really messy. God, I'm so rusty at drawing whole bodies of people. The model's looking up, and I like that. I like the angle, but I keep changing. This is a big bad art habit from me. I keep tilting the head back down. So this is the chin. Until you add the features, when you do this, the head just looks too big. It's weird. And it trips me up. Let's see. The eyebrows are about here. And then the eyes are here. And the nose is here. Although I always draw my noses a little long. And then the cheekbones are all the way up here. Okay. I'm pretty happy with that, but now I need to decide what kind of eyes to give him. And I'm thinking maybe a sort of sleepy Marilyn Monroe-esque kind of eye, you know? She has those sleepy bedroom eyes. I think that would be nice for this pose. And then we need to decide what his hair is going to be doing. He looks too serious. I want him to be smiling. Okay, that's better. There's a lot of shadow being cast by his head over this shoulder. Like that. That arm is definitely too short. I will figure that out later. We're going to focus on the hair. I like doing hair with lots of movement. Ooh, wait. I know what I want to do. I'll go straight down that straight? I have no idea. I'm not exactly an expert. Okay. Straight down. And then where's his butt? I'll have it kind of pooling. So it can actually go in a little bit. Yeah, there we go. Do we have a little piece coming out to the front? I'm not always good at doing these little wispy bits. And then if you're foreshortening a little curl of hair, it goes wider on these sides than on this. I'll add a little split in his hair right here so that this looks a little more natural. And then the rest of it's kind of sweeping behind him. I like the hair. So what do we do with this? Let's see. I don't want it to come to the front, I don't think. I think I kind of want it to come to the back, and then we get the little tail on the back like that. If you can even see that. I think that is what works best. So I think I'll cut it short here so that it can do a curve. I don't actually know if this is gonna work. Okay, change of plan. It is going in the front because I don't think I can make that. I need to have the tail like way over here, and it would probably throw off like the physical balance of this pose completely. So I'm gonna have it going this way and under. Rough, scratchy stuff that you shouldn't actually be doing. Do not sketch like this. Keep that a nice shape and then mimic that shape on this side. I need to look up what a dolphin's tail looks like. Alright, we've got the center line right here, and it kind of tapers in to a little point. It's not quite that literal, but, and then a curve here. That's gonna get cut off. It's fine, it's fine. Go up, because that's nice. That's like really thick and wide right here. And then it's fairly straight. Another small but very round curve here, even smaller than that one. And we're going to go in and then out. And in and out. Are we drawing or are we doing breathing exercises? Okay. That one's bigger. That one's longer than the other one. That looks a little better. That was mostly what was wrong. Okay, decided on how I'm going to fix this arm. I'm just going to have the hand resting lower on the leg. Or tail, lap. There we go. Lower on the lap. So in case it wasn't obvious and you don't want to go watch my old video where I talk about my world building with my mermen, they are more inspired by dolphins visually than by fish. I just thought it made a little more sense if I'm going to be doing world building with it, because when it comes to other people's stories, I can totally suspend my disbelief for the fantastical. But when it comes to my stories, I tend to nitpick everything. So having them be more similar to marine mammals than fish just made sense to me. So yeah, they're hugely inspired visually by dolphins. So they've got like a very gray tinge to their skin. It's not like a flat gray, it's sort of a purpley or sometimes blue gray, because I did still want it to be a little interesting. Does drawing this hand even matter when it's not on the page? It does to me. Alright, so I took some time to like clean it up and erase it off camera. And then as I was doing that, I was thinking about like how I wanted to color him in and what I wanted to do with this next page, because I do have this other page. And for this one, I'm kind of thinking, I pulled out these, which I haven't touched in a long time. So old set of colored Sharpies. I thought it would be kind of nice to play with those a little bit. I might still use some watercolor. I wanted to use this one, this sort of light periwinkle color for the shadows. And I'm not going to color them in totally because even the lightest Sharpie is not light enough. Although I saw that they made a skin tone set at some point. So that's kind of cool. I might try that one at some point. I don't tend to actually like acquire new art supplies very often, but if I keep having fun with these, I might consider it. Because I did used to use Sharpies a lot, especially as a kid. Like, I don't know, 12 and up, I used Sharpies a lot of the time. It was like my main colorful art supply. I really like this color. I was going through these and I found some colors that I had totally forgotten were in there, and they were like really fun. Like, where'd it go? This one. It just looks yellow on camera. Here's the actual yellow. For comparison, it's like a yellow-green, and it's really fun. So I am thinking of playing with Sharpies a little bit, especially because my next sketchbook will have thicker paper than this one, because it's technically watercolor paper, so I think they'll cause less of an issue. And that's my real problem with alcohol-based markers, is that I need to like plan and think about where I use them and if I don't want to ruin something, and it's just a little annoying. But that shouldn't be too much of an issue in the new one. That's gonna be tricky. Now we gotta do the face. Alright, I think that looks... whoop. Alright, I think that looks okay. Thinking about a different color for the hair. I could also try, because it's the hair, and I'm not really worried about making that too dark, I could also try using the actual gray and going over it with something. So I'm gonna try that on here. So we'll try the skin tone, or the shadow I used on the skin. And there's that purple, and then there's this one. It's a little dry, because this one is really old, and I actually kind of stole it from like my middle school teacher. So, sorry. But also, not sorry. I think I took it specifically because it was drying out and I liked the texture. I also wanted to try this pink. It's actually less pink looking than that purple. I kind of like it. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna use some of this very light pink on a couple spots that would be highlights, just to give them a warmer tone. Here, like here. Then I'm gonna add some line art with this. It's a navy blue Sharpie. Or do I not want to use this? I use a little bit on the hair. I think I'd rather use a blue ballpoint pen, actually. Yeah, I like that a lot better. It kind of sits on top. I am not going to talk very much during the line art, so I will get back to you when it's done. Alright, I figured I'd turn the camera back on to do his face, even though you won't be able to see it. Oh, maybe if I... But it's a good thing I turned the camera off earlier, because just about every loud thing that could have happened outside happened. A plane, and a car alarm, and I think there was a loud car. There's his eyes done. I think that might be my biggest problem with working in my sketchbook, is that I'll work in my sketchbook and I'm obviously working kind of small, and I just have trouble getting art supplies to work for me at that scale without moving on to like the really, really nice ones. And I don't want to use the nice ones in my sketchbook, not because I don't like them or because I'm freaked out about using them up. It's just like I want to use my crappy art supplies. I want to have opportunities to do so, and my sketchbook is where I do that, because that's where it doesn't matter if my art supplies are, you know, crappy office supplies or whatnot. I enjoy using them, but then I have trouble getting them to work at this scale. I just want to swatch the colors up here now that I've thought of it, because I like when people do that, and it will fill up the space kind of nicely. I want to do a double spread. I don't really feel like doing a bunch of finished sketches and then the final piece. You know, I just want to do some thumbnails. This guy was kind of just a warm-up, because I hadn't sketchbooked in so long and I hadn't really drawn my merman in quite a while. But now I feel pretty confident about getting into doing something. So what I'm kind of thinking, we're working with this long piece, and I don't really think I'll be able to fill in the whole thing. I've decided not to deal with that. I'm not going to really be able to fill in the whole thing with 2 mermen. It's really long, so I'll probably have to think of some kind of ornamentation to go on the sides. What I thought of, and I'm not really sure what I want one of them to be doing, although I guess there aren't that many options, but I kind of want one to be like laying like this. Ooh, actually no, I know how to make that work a little bit better. It'll get even more horizontal length into the image. Also, I don't know why I'm starting with my thumbnails right down in the middle of the page. That's stupid. Okay, so we've got a really long rectangle that we're working with, and I'm gonna kind of close these off with something so it's a little more manageable. So some kind of ornamentation. I'm thinking maybe some like really fantasy illustration, seaside rocks or cliffs or something like that, because I think those are nice. But in the middle, what I'm thinking of is like he's laying like this, those arms kind of crossed under his head. This makes no sense, and it's so tiny, but bear with me. So he's laying like this, butt in the air, and then we've got another one, and he's kind of like leaning over, laying on top of the other one's back, kind of looking right at us. So obviously I've not sketched this like balanced at all, but I think this could work if we could get these two centered more in the middle of the composition. We could get something really nice. Alright, so this is my idea. You can kind of see the 2 mermen, and what I want to do is make sure that we get them centered just right so that both of their faces are clear of the spiral binding. And then I've got one tail going up and behind the lettering, and then the next one is kind of under it. I've got this one's arm extended, and I think it's going to be really good. I can't believe I tried to draw it like that. That small. That's too small. That's too small. So I also did a little test. In the past, I've had some markers make the paper kind of hydrophobic. So I wanted to make sure that that wouldn't happen, because I'm thinking of incorporating a little bit of watercolor in here to get some texture, to get some of the colors I don't have, but I also want to have the some of the kind of ultra flat color that the Sharpies give. So thankfully, they work together really, really well. So I might do some of that. Plane, plane, go away. Come again some other day. Okay. him over here, and him kind of over here. It is so much harder to draw around this spine than I was anticipating. Alright, I'm pretty happy with it so far. I need to fix the curve of this tail. I'm pretty happy with them so far. I think I'm going to take a break from these guys for a minute and work on the background a tiny bit. Like this and this. I think it would be good if I could get a mix of like flat and round lines in there. And then over here I want them leaning a little more this way, just so that they're not completely symmetrical, because I think that would look weird. I think that works. Yeah, and then I wanted to add some cute little shells and a starfish. I thought a starfish would be really cute. I want to add the words. You can see right here I've got the text going over this tail and then in this spot. And I want to make them with a kind of chunky font so that I can maybe add some like starfish or barnacles on the letters. I think that would be really, really cool. I wanted a seagull here, so we're just going to add like the world's crappiest rendition of a seagull, just so I remember. Okay, now it's time to move on to the expressions. And this wasn't really planned, but this guy kind of looks like he's looking over at this guy. So I'm just going to go with that because I like how it looks. And then I want him looking out at us. Hope you don't mind that I jumped ahead a little bit because my camera was full up and I had to transfer some video onto my computer and it just was taking absolutely forever. So I sketched in like the skeletons of the letters, and I've also, poked around at the hair and a couple of other things. I wanted to make these letters kind of chunky so that I can decorate them a little bit. And I'm not worried about making it perfect because I think it will look nice, kind of imperfect. And I've done this style where there's serifs, but they only go either down or pointing, oh my god, left. If you watch my videos, you'll have seen my fonts, and you'll know that I have eccentric taste in fonts, so I wanted to do something a little fun. Suppose I could add a little seaweed. I'd say I'm ready to start lining things. I'm not going to go with a super detailed whatever. I don't know what I was gonna say about that. I'm wondering if maybe I should use colored line art though, since I have all these Sharpies in different colors. That bird is being really loud. And then I'll just use the red for the little sea star because I'm planning on coloring it in a sort of, I don't know, have you seen red sea stars? That color. Back to this peachy color and we'll get the shells. The nice thing about Sharpies is that they force you to go really fast when you're doing your line art, which is better. The lines generally look a lot better if you're going fast. This guy's a little long, but also we could say he's supposed to be like that. I think it works. I don't have a fine liner, tip that's like a light brown, so we're using this chunkier one, but it's alright, it's handling really nicely. I'm just going to add some little sand swoops. I'm going to use a colored pencil in a similar color to the Sharpie because it will be more resistant to an eraser than the pencil, the graphite is, and we're just going to hope that this doesn't smudge too bad when I erase all this stuff. So the plan is to kind of mix Sharpie and watercolor and maybe some colored pencils to get something really flat and graphic and fun. So, and I'm not an expert at coloring with Sharpies. I just kind of do whatever. Now let's see. I want a sort of peachy orange base for that sea star. I'll probably go over it with some kind of red at some point, but I think that'll be watercolors. I always like to do at least a tiny bit of experimenting when I do these draw with me's, just because I feel like it makes it more interesting. I'm pretty rigid in my format for making art, so, and then it gives me an extra thing to talk about. Yeah, I like that. I'm actually going to go over this with with a little brush, but I wanted to try giving it an undercoat of the Sharpie, just to see what that looks like. I feel like it could end up giving us a really, really rich color. Also, to get myself inspired to work with Sharpies, I rewatched those old Drawing with Waffles videos about drawing with Sharpies. I wouldn't have even thought to do that if she hadn't started posting again recently, which is really wonderful. I really missed her videos. Her art style is so vastly different from mine, but her attitude towards art and towards filling her sketchbook is just, it was absolutely infectious. It really actually helped me, like significantly helped me to fill my sketchbook, to watch her videos. And it was really sucky when she had to go away to take care of her health, but it's also so wonderful that she's back. She's one of the OG art YouTubers, and obviously, I think it goes without saying, without YouTubers like her, I wouldn't have started my YouTube channel. She's also one of the only art YouTubers from like way back then that I still really watch. There are a couple, but for the most part, I've like moved on. I feel like I've matured past their content, but for her and for a couple of others, there was something deeper there than just their art that kept me coming back. I think all of us in the art community are very, very pleased that she's, or the art YouTube community, are very, very pleased that she's back with us, giving the shells little stripies, because that's what they look like when you find them on the beach where I live. So seagulls are a pretty light gray on the wings, and then white on the stomach, but they've got a black wedge at the base of their tail. So I'll just color that in, and then like black tips on their wings. I am talking over an airplane. Sorry if you can hear that. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of that. I love seagulls, but they're absolutely terrifying. I actually think I might want to add some hair over here. That makes it look like it makes a little more sense. And actually I'll add a little bit here too, and like that. There we go. And then I forgot to add a little wedge of sand that his elbow is pushing up. My battery is dying. You'll know I'm a professional YouTuber when I buy a second camera battery and have more than one memory card. Now, I know that Copic markers and actual art alcohol markers are supposed to smell less than Sharpies, permanent markers, which are meant to like adhere to multiple surfaces and so they've got other stuff in them. They aren't literally just dyes suspended in alcohol. But I will say the price tag of alcohol markers plus the rubbing alcohol smell that they will have, it's not a very appealing combination. What I'd really, really like to get are one of them's a state name, like Arizona, or something like that. Molotov. Yeah, there's Molotov and, like, Arizona or Wisconsin or whatever the fuck it is. And they make refillable paint markers. And I had some Posca pens a long time ago. They lasted a really long time. But Posca pens aren't refillable, at least as far as I'm aware. But I really enjoyed using them. I don't like acrylic paint, but I really enjoyed my acrylic paint markers. And I would love to get some again, but those ones are quite pricey. I don't think I really want to make that kind of investment. Also, I haven't looked into the light fastness of those ones at all, of those products at all. So I have no idea if I would be comfortable using them in a finished product. I could still do prints, I suppose. Alright, I've got my watercolors. And I am pretty interested in seeing what working with these two things together is like. It's probably just going to go exactly how I think it's going to go. I know the watercolors don't reactivate the Sharpies, because I tested that. So, don't know what else it's going to do. I suppose it could start tap dancing. Yeah, okay, that's a lot. But where I live, the beach is stormy and gray most of the time. Not literally stormy, just gray. This is what a beach sky looks like to me. Also, because a lot of these other colors are kind of muted, I thought a bright blue sky would look a little odd. I'm going to use something granulating on these sort of cliffs. Actually, I've got some Schminke Desert Green over here. That could be really nice. Alright, I definitely painted outside the lines there, but that's not surprising. I was not being careful. I like to add it on the knuckles and the elbows. Maybe a little bit right here, a little right there. And then I'll just wash it out a little bit. This page is behaving totally different from that one. That one, they lifted up and blended out, even though they'd been on there longer. But this one, they just sunk right in. So it makes me think that maybe this paper was sized to some extent, but only on the front of the page. Or just something in how the paper was produced and pressed. The top, this side, ended up with a different texture than the bottom, which happens. That just happens. But sometimes it's really obvious. I'm just going to use the Sky Mix for the skin, honestly, but I am adding some Potter's Pink. Yeah, that's a really pretty purpley gray. Alright, since these pinks are just not budging at all, I'll just start with him. Just a little ultramarine wash on the tails. trying to be careful not to get up to the edge because that is not dry right next to it at all. And I'm planning on adding some highlights back in with pencil, which is why I'm not bothering to leave any, because, I mean, quite frankly, they don't always work, but I do like how they look when they do work. I'm going to try putting some of that Holbein lavender over the hair. I'm wondering if that will cover up the Sharpie mistake I did. There is a lot of white in Holbein lavender, if you couldn't tell. We will fix that when it dries because there's no fixing it while it's wet. I do think the sand is dry enough that I could add some color to that starfish, though. And then I'm going to need to stop and let this dry. But I'm just adding a little bit of red to this pink color we used in the skin. Is this dry? I'll risk it. I want to add some more to the sand. Not everywhere, because I don't want this whole thing to need to dry again. Just in some spots, I feel like it could use a little dimension. And I'm gonna add some shadows under them as well. Should I just add the shadows with this? This mixed with some Tundra Violet, because that has brown in it. That might look a little better. It looks okay. I've definitely seen better shadow colors, but I've also seen much worse, so it's getting late, so I'm getting a little tired. This is just ultramarine. I gotta make sure to get all of the shadows, even these ones up here. And then I want to add some shadows around the eyes. I should have switched to the tiny brush, but I didn't. I completely forgot about it until right now. Ultramarine everywhere. All of the ultramarine. Now the sky is definitely dry. Should work. I don't like to use my nice watercolor brushes with inks. I'm just hoping this will add some pop to the letters, just to make this guy actually stand out, because he's a very light color on a very light colored background. And then I'm going to do the same color down on this one, just to make it more obvious that that one up there is in fact a starfish. I'm going to use some of that in this shell over here, and the other one as well. Not too much. Why so many airplanes? And then, ooh, actually, yeah, like that. Alright, then I guess I'll just add some more of this other places. Just want to use this and add some little dots in the sand, because I think this is the perfect color to do that with. Okay, as a kid, it was honestly the best thing to draw little dunes of sand, and you just do a little wave shape, and then you add some dots, and suddenly sand. And it made me feel like an artist. Yeah, I want to add some of this to the tops of these rocks. It won't do that much, but I just want to emphasize the brightness that I've already put down. And then I really didn't add any up here, so this will save this top rock. His hair is still wet, but I can add some white highlights over here. Ooh, yeah, I should add that to the tails as well. I think that's the spot it will make the most difference. It's got a very shiny butt. But that's what you get when you're in the ocean all the time. Little shadow. And over here, oh, I should add some stuff to the seaweed too. That is totally flat. I'm gonna add an outline to the seaweed because that totally disappeared. And a little highlights. Where did my white go? Whatever. I can use cream. That's fine. Found it. And this guy's hair is dry. So that fixes the weird nose blotch that was going on. Alright. Just adding a little more shadow. Because I feel like some of these should be just a little bit darker. I think that's done. So I'm going to sign it in an appropriate color, which I think is this red we used. And it's definitely done. I'm very, very pleased with this. So, the last thing to do is go back to the beginning and put in the end date. June 12th, 2025. Hey, I started it on a 12 and I ended it on a 12. Isn't that funny? Alright. Well, if you couldn't tell how late it was before, you certainly can now. My desk gets much better lighting than my face does because it's not really the priority, but we've now officially finished Sketchbook 16, which means it's time to move on to Sketchbook 17, which is very exciting. Thank you so much for watching to the end if you did. I am very, very pleased with how this turned out. If you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, maybe leave a saucy little comment in the comment section below. Notification bell, slap it, and I'll see you next time. Bye.